Rights Museum, and I get paid to do this stuff, which is awesome. I'm delighted to welcome you to our first Funk Family Upstander Speaker Series of 2020. I would love to start by thanking our very generous sponsors, Betty Jo and David Bell. Thank you. Betty Jo and David, you two do so much to support the museum, and we are very grateful. We are also grateful for the support of our wonderful community partners tonight, the Anti-Defamation League of Texoma, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Congregation Anshe Torah, Congregation Shereth Israel, Legacy Senior Communities, SMU Human Rights Program, and the World Affairs Council of Dallas-Fort Worth. Excuse me. And I'd also like to give a very warm welcome to our members who are here tonight. We couldn't do this sort of programming without you. If you aren't a member, please consider stopping by the membership table after you leave and join our membership family, so you'll be in the loop when we have programs like this on an ongoing basis. And last but not least, I'd like to thank our board members and our docents and volunteers who come to all of our programs and support us day in and day out. We could not do this work without you, so thank you so much. If you are not a volunteer, you might consider joining our volunteer family. You could be here during the day to help make sure that the 6th through 12th graders who go through this museum really understand their responsibility to be an upstander. So please consider that. The Upstander Speaker Series is one of the many ways that we fulfill our mission at the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum to teach the history of the Holocaust and advance human rights to combat prejudice, hatred, and indifference. In this series, we highlight those who stand up for human rights. They are living testaments to the fact that we can all make a difference. At the conclusion of tonight's program, we will give you the opportunity to ask questions of Sivan. We have passed out note cards and pencils before the talk, but we'll be walking around with them afterwards. So if you have a question, please write them down, and staff will come and pick them up, and hopefully we can answer as many questions as possible. So tonight, I'm very honored to welcome Sivan Ya'ari as a true upstander. Sivan is the founder and CEO of Innovation Africa, a nonprofit that brings Israeli solar, agricultural, and water technologies to African villages. Sivan was born in Israel, raised in France, educated in the United States, and has been working in Africa for over 20 years. Over the past decade, Sivan and Innovation Africa have brought light and clean water to over 1.7 million people across 10 African countries. And Sivan started this work when she was 20 years old. So she is truly an upstander and an inspiration to all of us. She's received numerous honors, including being recognized by Forbes as one of the 50 most influential women in Israel. I'm so thrilled that she made this trip to Dallas, Texas, to share her work with all of you. I had the honor of hearing Sivan and learning about her work 2 years ago on a mission trip for the Jewish Federation of Greater Dallas, and I was so inspired by her. I came back to our program and team and said, we've got to have Sivan in our Upstander Speaker Series, and we're delighted that she would come all this way to speak to you. She leads a very busy life. And now what we'd like to do is start with a short film that will show you a little bit more about Innovation Africa, and then Sivan will come on the stage. Thank you.
Typhoid, diarrhea, vomiting, people use the very water, people get sick. Unapata mgonjwa, homa, malaria.
Darkness, because we don't have light, we cannot see, we don't deliver the services as we must.
it's very difficult for us children to study at night.
Kabla hatujapata mradi wa maji, tulikuwa tunahangaika sana kwa ajili ya kutafuta maji.
People drink muddy water, children studying without having a light. Even the mother couldn't give birth because the health center doesn't have a light at night. And for us as Innovation Africa, we want to change that.
Innovation Africa was founded 10 years ago with a very simple mission: to bring Israeli technologies to transform schools, medical centers, but most importantly, to pump water.
When we reach to communities and you mention the word water, at that time you see the smile on faces of these people.
We identify the village that are in need of water. We build a tower and we distribute the water taps all around the village.
The first transformation we see ever, their skins improve.
Any human being should have access to clean water.
We have water under the ground, the sun is shining every day. With the knowledge and Israeli technology, we can make a change, and forever.
Once we do it, it completely transforms the village.
I believe Innovation Africa can change Africa.
We didn't have any dream of getting clean water in our community in Uganda here. So we really appreciate the team from Israel.
When we use this solar at night, children are able to read properly, the teachers are able to teach. We are very grateful for Innovation Africa.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
I take this opportunity to thank Innovation Africa to bring us power in our facility.
You are our fathers and mothers from Israel.
Innovation Africa has made more children to come to study because of the lights and the water. Innovation Africa kutuletea mradi wa maji, na sasa hivi maji mpaka shuleni yanafika. Natumia muda mwingi kusoma, siangalii tena kwenda kutafuta maji, na maji yako karibu. Tunawashukuruni sana Innovation Africa.
We are committed to bring water where there is drought, to bring light where there is darkness, to bring hope and dignity where there is despair. Good evening. Mary Pat, thank you very much for including me in your program. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to come and listen to me. I'm quite humbled to see so many of you here. I'm often in Africa, so I don't get too many opportunities to share the work that we are doing. I was asked to come and tell you why, as an Israeli, as a daughter, a mother, a wife, I decided to devote my life to bring Israeli technologies to African villages. Allow me to start by telling you that there was no reason for me to go to Africa. I was born in Israel. My father was not a businessman working in Africa. My father was not a diplomat. In fact, most of my childhood, he was unemployed. He couldn't find a job. And at some point, because it was so difficult for the family financially, he told my sibling and my mother, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to leave Israel. We're gonna try in France. His sister lived in France, so we all moved. I was then young. And when we arrived to France, my parents couldn't find a job, but my mother, such a smart lady, she said, don't worry, I'm gonna make pizza, we're gonna sell the pizza in the market, and it's going to be okay. And they started selling pizza. And after many years, and I'm not joking, of having pizza every dinner, lunch, breakfast, I told my parents enough. I really need better nutrition. And I know where I can find good nutrition. I'm going to join the Israeli army. I went back to Israel at the age of 18. And at the age of 20, I got so lucky. I was in Israel. I was looking for a job. And then I met a gentleman, a businessman. Now allow me to ask you, do you know Jordache jeans? Do you remember Jordache jeans, or you're too young? It was a joke. No, usually when I ask in campuses, people don't know Jordache jeans. Yeah. But at that time, it was big. And so I met the owner of Jordache jeans. And I went to him and I asked for a job. I said, excuse me, I know you're a businessman. Do you have a job for me? And he said, well, you're lovely, which I was. I promise you. But he said, you're English. Your English is no good. I'm sorry. I cannot give you a job. Most of my businesses are in America. I'm sorry. Good luck. And then God loves me, because I said, you know, I speak French. And he said, if you speak French, I do have a job for you. I own a factory in Madagascar where we are manufacturing jeans. Why don't you go and do quality control of the jeans before we ship them to America? And I said, Madagascar, where is it? He said, it's in Africa. And that was 21 years ago. I'm 41. I was then 20. And then I said, I'm taking the job. And so I arrived to the African continent, and I haven't left really. Would you like to see some pictures? Yes. Okay, let's see. The good news about the next picture is, as you're gonna see, I haven't changed. Look at me. Look at me. We didn't have much. That I promise you, really. But look at me. I'm clean. I have shoes. When I arrived to Africa, that's when I realized what it really means not having much. I had too much growing up. Here's my first picture outside of Jordache factory. I'm with the children. They took me to their homes, and spending time in the villages, I realized two things. First, many children are not going to school, and some of the parents and children needed some medical attention. And I said, okay, maybe I can help. I looked for a medical center. I found one. But when I arrived, there were so many people waiting, outside, inside. I asked for the doctor. They said, no doctors. The nurse came. I said, excuse me, can I help you? So many people are waiting. She said, no, thank you. I cannot help them myself. I said, why? She said, we don't have access. We don't have vaccines, medicines. I said, why? She said, we do not have a refrigerator. It got spoiled. Whatever we received got spoiled. I said, why? She said, we don't have electricity. I went back at night. There were only some of the ladies that were either gave birth or pregnant. They were using kerosene lamp. I went to the nearby school and I saw the students studying, and then I found out that the students sitting on the first row, they are the richest in the village. Why is that? Why do you think they are the richest? Why do they sit near the light? What did they do? They gave the money. They gave the money to buy the kerosene. If you have money, you sit near the light. If not, you sit in the back. Yeah. I said, you know, if we could just bring energy, electricity, we can make a change. But I was uneducated. I didn't know what to do. I continued working for Jordache. They had 7 factories across Africa. I traveled to more countries. And then I realized that the situation is not about 1, 2 villages, 1 country, 2 countries. It's actually about a continent. Let me show you. Even today, over 600 million people in Africa have never seen a light bulb. There is no energy, which means that in most countries, once we leave the airport, there is no electricity in school, medical centers, and so on. I came to New York. I was accepted to Columbia University. I got my master's in energy. As a student, I went to my professor and I asked him, how can I go back? I would like to go back and help the medical center. And my professor told me, Sivan, what is the big deal? You only need 2 solar panels. That's all. That will be enough to bring enough energy to 12 light bulbs and even a refrigerator. I said, that's all. He said, that's it. I raised money from the students, the Hillel group. I bought 2 solar panels and went back. Do you like my hairdo? It was in the fashion. It was, you all are the same. Yes. So with the 2 solar panels installed on the roof of the medical center, light inside and outside, I bought a small refrigerator, and already the next day, there were lines of mothers and children that came to have access to vaccines and medicine. I said, this is so simple, so cheap, we have to do more. But then I remember growing up in Israel, I saw solar panels everywhere. In Israel, on every roof, you see solar panels. I went back to Israel, met with a few engineers, put together a simple, efficient solar system, and went back to the school. Now, let me show you how fast and simple it was to bring electricity to the school. So simple, let's do more. But then I realized I made a mistake. Now, I made many mistakes. I failed many times. That was the first time. Who can think what I did wrong or what I forgot? Because think about it. I went to the school, installed solar energy, and I left. I went to the medical center, and I left. I forgot something. What did I forget? I put the light bulbs, but you actually got it right. What's going to happen in a few months? they're gonna burn out. That's true. What I was thinking to myself, how they gonna buy and replace the light bulbs? What I was thinking, that the nurse, she's going to be paying to buy new light bulbs and replace them? That the students are going to bring money to buy new light bulbs? Will I have to travel from New York each time to do so? I understood that that's it. In a few months from now, they're going to go back to being darkness, and that was it. But then I found a solution. I remembered that in the villages, I saw people with cell phones. And I was quite surprised. I didn't understand, where do they charge their cell phones? There is no electricity. So, went back. I met this gentleman and I asked him, I said, excuse me, where do you charge the cell phones? There is no electricity. He told me that he is in charge of taking all the cell phones from the village. He walks to another village far away, he charges the phones, he pays a fee, and he comes back. I said, that's wonderful. Is there electricity in the other village? He said, no, there is a car. We're using the battery of the car to charge phone by phone, and we're paying a small fee to the owner of the car. I said, please, tomorrow, bring the cell phones to the school. We're going to use the solar energy to charge the phones. We can pay the small fee, the teacher will keep the money, and we'll buy new light bulbs. Is that a good idea? Yes or no? Let's see what's happened. Here's what's happened the first day. It worked. Here's what's happened after 3 days. He really worked. People were coming from all over. And you know what's happened after 3 months? They opened another business. A barber shop. I said, this is wonderful, I'm still a student. A Jewish man in New York told me, Sivan, if you want to continue and you want me to give you some money, you have to open a non-for-profit for tax purposes. I opened the non-for-profit, Innovation Africa, and I continued bringing simple, reliable, efficient, small solar systems to more schools, more medical centers. I went to Uganda, Malawi, Tanzania. It was good, it was simple, until one day I realized I made another mistake. This was in Uganda. I went back just to check on the solar system that we have installed in a school a few months back. I went just to see if everything is okay. The teacher told me, Sivan, thank you, but we're not using it. We're not using the solar energy. I said, why? He said, look, there are no students. I said, where is everyone? He told me word by word, they are too weak to walk. They're not coming to school. I said, why? Why do you think they're not coming to school? No water. You remember the first village I told you children were not going to school? I should have asked why. Because only then I went and I realized that children and mothers are spending hours each day to search for water. Now you're going to see a few pictures. There are 450 million every morning. They wake up to search for water. This is actually a few weeks ago in Zambia. That's the water. Now they drink the water, they get sick, and oftentimes is not enough to grow food. Yeah. Now, where can we find water? Because I was not that smart then. I didn't know what to do. But then I realized, I read and I understood that actually there is plenty of clean water. Where can we find clean water? In the underground. Actually, if we look at the map of Africa, you can see that there is plenty of clean water right there in the aquifers, and all we need is to drill. If we drill, we find water. But once we found water, what do we need? We need pump. And what do we need for the pump? Electricity. And what we don't have? Energy. And that's the problem. The reason why they're still in poverty is because of the lack of energy. Let me show you one of the videos. This was in Uganda, where we saw famine. That was actually the first time I saw famine. The Prime Minister of Uganda, a good friend, asked me, Sivan, we are farming in the north of Uganda, in Karamoja. I googled Karamoja. This was the region that was given to Theodore Herzl in 1903. Do you remember? The Jews from Europe were supposed to go to Uganda. And he said, no, we're going to wait for Israel. I was so proud, I brought a videographer with me. But when I arrived, I realized it was too late. Let's watch.
This is some of the communities which I want you to see. And you see how these people, how they are being affected with famine. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for allowing us to come. Hi, good morning.
Like 3 days, some of them have not had food.
What do they eat now?
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
they have? They eat the leaves of the trees right now?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, Charlie. It's not human. Because of anger, she tied her stomach. There's corn, there's beans. Is that okay? And find out where's the water. God bless her. Please tell them that we're going to come back. That we're going to come back to pump water. Contribution is quite modest. All that we do is we use the energy from the sun that exists in order to pump water that exists. So in every village, we install a solar water pumping system. The first thing we do, we bring the drilling machine. We drill. Each time we found water. Then we bring a few solar panels to capture the energy from the sun, and the energy powers the pump. The pump is pumping the water to the tank, and from the tank, through gravity, water flows to different taps that we install throughout the village. That's all. And let me show you how happy they are when they test clean water for the first time. Not only the children, also the mothers. And then we install an extra tank. This time is for the drip irrigation that we bring from Israel. It was invented in Israel. So now they can grow more food with less water. Now, allow me to ask you a question. What do you think are the changes that we are seeing in the village? Let's say 6 months after, when we go back, and now that they have clean water flowing all the time, what do you think we are seeing in the village? What are the changes? The smiles. It's true. They're healthy. The water is clean. Less people are going to the medical centers. True. What else? What's happened to the children? They go to school. What else? What about businesses? Because the village is becoming rich. What, and I am so, you will see, what is the main business? Now that we have access to water, what can we do? Vegetable, agriculture. Let's watch one of it.
I had been planning to grow some onions. I have here a nursery bed, a very huge one, and it has assisted me to water. We had no rain. This problem has been running for centuries. We had no water right from my childhood. No water. About 4 kilometers away where we could get water. But right now, I'm so happy that when Innovation Africa came, I had this plan. Onions, if you grow onions, it carries a lot of money. I said, as I will grow these onions, I will enable myself to pay for my children, to buy food, to sustain me. Even the family problems, I will be solving them with the help of this water project. Thank you so much.
What's the next business? Who can think? We have access to water. Soil, what can we do? How many of you are in real estate? What can we do? Building, we make bricks. You remember the mud homes that I showed you? No more. We go back. They make bricks, they sell bricks, they build homes. It's like a middle class. Let me show you one story.
At first, we used to get water for longer distance. Having a baby, when I'm pregnant, it is very long distance to get water. It took me time. But when we got water from Innovation Africa, I'm getting water near here while you're cooking, washing, even making bricks. After making bricks, now I'm building the house, new home. Even I sell bricks to the nearest villagers. Even from town, they come and buy from me. When I get money, I pay my school fees to the children. We are happy of it.
What else? Livestock, producing more milk, poultry farm, and so on and so on. And so when you think about it, just because we harnessed the energy from the sun that was there to pump water, then suddenly you have better education, better health, but most importantly, they are financially independent. And that is wonderful. So, as an organization, Innovation Africa, I live in Israel with my team of engineers. We operate in 10 African countries now, and we have brought drip irrigation, water, access to light to now close to 300 villages, and access to water to at least 1.7 million people, and that's quite conservative. Here's the list of all the villages in Uganda that we have helped, many of them. I actually spend between 10 days to 2 weeks a month in the villages. You're welcome to join me anytime. I take always people with me. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience, and when I get to the villages and I mentioned Israel, oftentimes they have never heard of Israel before. This is the first Israel, the first face of Israel they see. Yeah. So Malawi, also one of the poorest countries in the world, we are currently receiving funding from UNICEF. They are giving us money to help refugees in Cameroon. Refugees that are fleeing Boko Haram from Nigeria, that entered Cameroon. My team were there pumping water in the refugee camps. Cameroon, we are even in South Africa pumping water. Dear Congo, Senegal, and you can see this tall man. This is Dikembe Mutombo. Do you know him? The NBA player. It was one of the cheapest solar installations. I didn't need a letter. No letter. He came, he put it, and he loves Israel. You know, he came recently with his wife, with Rose. All right, so how do we do it as a charity? We have people, families adapting one village. One family, one village. We have many bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah. Boys, girls adapting a school, adapting a medical centers, adapting a village. And all our donors, we are asking for them to come and be there. Because it's priceless. To see the children looking at the lights for the first time. It's just a beautiful thing. So, how much it costs? $18,000 or $50,000 at most. That's what it costs to do all of that, including computers, including medical centers, everything that we need. So let's watch maybe a quick video in case you want to join me to the villages. Here's what you should expect. A lot of dancing.
I want to thank all of you for honoring us. It is really our honor to be here today. It is our hope that this water will be for you a source of health and that it will help you to grow and keep building your beautiful village and beautiful community. And it's really our honor and our blessing to be here. Thank you so much.
My name is Adam Sultan. I am from Brooklyn, New York.
My name is Vicki Sultan. My name is Sophia Konikoff. I'm Judy Sloan.
I'm Jacob Konikoff. I'm 18.
My name is Liz Kainer from Westport, Connecticut.
I heard about Innovation Africa about a year ago.
I came on this trip because we were celebrating the building of a medical center.
I came with my mom, my brother.
We decided that we wanted to raise funds to sponsor a water pump and drip irrigation for a village.
This mother came to me and explained to me her situation of having to carry her dying son 12 kilometers to try to get some medical help. And my heart was breaking. So I started a fundraising effort, and the town of Wilton, Connecticut donated the medical center here in Nabui.
We went to many different projects, and they were all in different phases. What was amazing was you could actually see the difference.
To be there and see it, it makes you get a whole nother understanding.
When you see how the people are living here without the fundamentals and how much their life has to become centered around getting those things, it is very hard to conceive for people who are used to just running water their entire lives.
There's no way for the cycle to end unless the main problem is solved, which is the water.
You have given us the greatest gift forever. May God bless you so much. Come on.
The first day that we got here is when we went to our orphanage that we donated and raised funds for.
And we're driving in the car, and I'm really just looking around. I mean, this is my sort of first day of taking in Uganda. And all of a sudden, we start to pull into the village, and I hear singing, and I see people, in colorful clothing dancing.
That moment was the most incredible moment for me of the entire trip. Because to see how they responded just to water was heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time.
Here we can go in for a relatively small amount of money and change the entire infrastructure for a few thousand people.
What little money can do for those wonderful people.
I am so impressed with Innovation Africa for so many reasons. The people had nothing. Well, now they have water, They have this very modern medical center for Uganda.
Faster than I think people can install a kitchen or another project in their home is when these people will be able to get fresh water.
Loving people who just need, help, and they're all our brothers and sisters. We hope that the things that we brought you will help you to learn, to grow.
They don't have to worry like they used to. Now they can grow vegetables, they can take care of the farm because they have time.
Everyone in the world should have clean water. Everyone should have electricity. That's what I like what Innovation Africa is doing, because they're really coming in and fixing a problem where the government or anyone else, isn't tackling it.
The needs are infinite, but Innovation Africa is certainly doing more than its share.
I cannot think of another organization that I would do this with.
To understand what Innovation Africa is doing, you really do need to come here and see it.
This is just a start. I look forward to being able to come back in the future and help do more for everybody.
What's more important in the world than helping another human being? It's not what you take out of life, it's what you leave behind that really matters.
Would you like to join me? Yes? Okay. So, I mentioned to you that when I'm a very proud Israeli, I'm a big Zionist. So when I get to the villages and I mention Israel, I told you, some people have never heard of Israel, but some did. From where? Where have they heard of Israel? From the Bible. They've been reading the Bible. And so when I come and I say we're from Israel, Jerusalem, they say they think God answered the prayers. And let me show you this video. We installed solar energy in the medical center. A baby was born, and look what they had to say. In the villages in every country, we have a local office with local engineers, local managers, local team. We train them. Many of them came to Israel for training. And our Israeli engineers, we are there to train, to teach, to hire, and share Israeli knowledge and Israeli innovation. Now, recently, we have received an award from the United Nations. Allow me to tell you that I was asked to speak for 5 minutes. It was a competition. I knew I have no chance of winning at the United Nations. So I mentioned Israel 20 times in 5 minutes. I said, why do I care? I'm not going to get it anyway. You know what's happened? They gave us the award. And you know why? Because they couldn't deny that we have the best innovation and the best technology. And let me show you what I presented. I presented this small box that we developed in my office, which allows us and the donors to monitor live from every village. We know precisely how much water we're pumping, how much water is going to each one of the taps, how much is going to the drip irrigation. And if something breaks, we get an alert. But not only us, the Bar Mitzvah Boy on his phone, he gets the alert on his Facebook. So he knows and he calls me. So that's it. Now, allow me to conclude because I want you to ask me some questions if you have any. Allow me to conclude and tell you what I've learned from my 20 years in the villages. The first thing, sometimes the source of the problem can also be the source of the solution. You see, in Africa, the sun was the problem. It was making them thirsty, the land dry. But today, the sun, it what brings them access to water and food, and so on. And I, growing up, for many years, most of my teenagers, I felt bad about my childhood, the fact that I didn't have much, comparing myself to my friends, and really bothered me until I got to Africa, and then I realized that was actually my solution. Growing up, I had too much. I was very lucky. I had a blanket, I had a bed, yeah? And most importantly, and probably that's the last thing, look at me. What have I done? Nothing. All that I've done is I shared. I took something that existed, 2 solar panels, and I just shared them. I brought them to where they were needed. That's all. Most of the time, it's much simpler and easier to make an impact. And of course, in Israel, we are very lucky with all of the innovation that are coming out of this small country to share them. Allow me to say something a bit more related to this evening and to where we are at the Holocaust Museum. Jewish people lost their hope, pride, and dignity, and many lost their loved one during the Holocaust. Our work at Innovation Africa, although it will not bring back the lives of those that we have lost, but we hope to bring light and water, my goal at least 6 million people. This is our way of showing that now Israel is strong. Now that we have survived, we are here to stay, and we are here to share and empower others. We're here to make sure that human rights are safeguarded and that nothing like the Holocaust will happen again, not under our watch. But let me be a bit more personal. There is one verse in the Bible that keeps me going every morning. I wake up in the morning and that's what I read. The same verse, Genesis 12:3. When God promised Abraham, God told him, he promised him, I'm going to make you a great nation. You will be a blessing, and through you, through your descendants, all the families on earth will be blessed. And so today, when we think about Israel, such a small country, and all the innovation, I think it's no accident. I think that God has something to do with it. I think that only now, by sharing Israeli innovation, we can finally fulfill our destiny and be a true blessing and bless all the families on earth. And all those people during the Holocaust, they lost their dignity. They couldn't fulfill their destinies. So this is our way of saying, we are here and we are here to stay, and we will make sure to make this world a better place. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we're going to ask Sivan questions. Spencer and Annie are going through the audience, so anybody who has questions on cards, please just pass them down. To start with, Sivan, this question is, why did you and Innovation Africa have to step in? Why did governments where these people lived not do this?
It's a very good question. And you know, when I first arrived to Africa, I said the same thing. I said, why the government is not doing it? And then over time, I realized that the challenge it's just so big. But then I keep meeting with ministers and prime ministers, and I ask them. And then over time, I realized that actually, one of the ministers told me, Sivan, how many people are actually paying taxes? Less than 4% of the population. I said, but what about corruption? Maybe you're stealing the money. He said, possibly, there is corruption. However, if we get money from the World Bank or the IMF, the money, and that's a check, is restricted. And it's restricted mostly today to build roads, to extend the grid. There are no roads. So what do at Innovation Africa? Before entering a new country, I go and I meet with two ministers, the Minister of Energy and the Minister of Water. The Minister of Energy gives me the Master Rural Electrification Plan, meaning that it will tell me when and where the government will be going and helping extending the grid. And I go to the regions where I know that at least in the next 20 years, they will not get access to energy. And then I meet with the Minister of Water, and he or she tells me where there is drought, where the aquifers is deep, so we can go and use the energy to pump the water. So we work hand in hand with the government. We do, trying to do as much as we can. But it's still a small drop of the ocean, unfortunately. There is still a lot to be done.
This audience member has two questions and a very brief comment. Question one, is all of the equipment from Israel, including the solar panels? Question two, could you speak about the purity of the water? Statement three, I wish I were younger.
Who is the gentleman? Okay. Not all from Israel, most of it is from Israel, and not the solar panels. Actually, solar panels are not made in Israel, most in China or in some in Canada and so on. The water is clean. The water from the aquifers is clean. We do test the quality of the water, and 99% of the time it's always clean. The time it wasn't, we used the water for irrigation, where it was too salty. But otherwise, the water is clean, and there is plenty of it below in the aquifers. And it's never too late. If you are young enough, if you want to join us.
Sivan, have you run into any problems when building, and could you tell us about some of those?
Problems? Yeah. I had many challenges. I made many mistakes. I did. The first one, when I was the first in Tanzania, I installed solar energy on a school and a medical center when I was a student at the beginning. And when I went back to check, they told me here again that the students are not coming to school. I said, why? They said because of the witches. There is witchcraft in the village. And they don't like the energy. It takes away from their power. And so I didn't know what to do. I didn't realize about the witchcraft situation, the culture. And I told them, I don't want to meet them. I don't want to get involved. You have 4 weeks to deal with the witches, and if you're not fixing it, I'm going to have to take back the solar panels. And I did. I went back after 4 weeks. I removed the solar systems. But today, when we go to a village, one of the questions, do you have witches? And then we ask before, and if yes, we see the situation. But yes, different cultures, different tribes, and so we have to deal with it as we go along.
Sivan, do you have a plan for how many solar systems and water pumps you want to build each year?
Yes, this year we would like to. Last year we finished 108 villages. This year We have, I hope to finish 200. Next year, 220, and the year after, 225. The goal is to finish 645 villages in the next 3 years. That will bring us to about 1,000 villages. Not yet to reach 6 million. I think 6 million people will be in about 5 years from now, as we are scaling up as an organization.
Sivan, do you interact with any medical groups, Doctors Without Borders, local groups? Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, not enough. I would like to. I mean, if some of you are doctors, nurses who would like to join us, please, we need help. We haven't done enough of it. No, we do take engineers. Currently, I have 16 engineers from the Technion. They've been with us for the past year. They just came back from Malawi. They are going in April to Uganda. They are helping us as we are developing new technologies. So we do take engineers with us, but we haven't taken doctors yet. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
I like this. How much time do you spend away from your family? How do they manage?
Oh, that's a good question. Are you wondering if I'm still married? Yeah. Are you wondering? Allow me to say that I married a good man, an American. His name is David. A Zionist. And that was 10 years ago when we lived in New York. And then we moved to Israel, and we have 3 children. I have twins, 10 years old, and then I have another one, 8 years old. A boy and a girl and a boy. And my husband, about 3 years ago, he said, Sivan, enough. You're never home. You're not spending time with the children. That's it, I'm leaving. I said, no, please, David, don't leave me. Please, give me another chance. I promise you, I'm going to spend more time with the children. I'm going to take them with me to Africa. Is that a good idea or no? Yes or no? Yes. I did it. I went to the children. Maybe if we have 3 minutes, I want to show you something. I went to my children. I said, who would like to come with me to Africa? The boys said, no, it's too dirty. But my daughter, she was 8, she said, Mommy, I'm coming. She came with me and we lived in a village for that's the time of the famine, but I took her. Do you want to see some of it? Yeah. We actually filmed it. And coming back to Israel, she talked about Israel, but she speaks in Hebrew. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. All right, let's watch it quickly. You're going to see. Pay attention to her hairdo.
אפריקה היא יבשת גדולה עם 54 מדינות, ובכל מדינה יש בעיה גדולה, במיוחד שאין חשמל ומים. בגלל שאין חשמל אז אין אור, והילדים בבית ספר לא יכולים ללמוד וקשה להם. ובגלל שאין חשמל אז אפשר לשאוב מים מהאדמה, ויש הרבה מים מתחת לאדמה. הילדים הולכים לחפש מים, הם מוצאים מים, אבל מים מלוכלכים. והם שותים אותם, לא אכפת להם איזה מים, לא אכפת להם איך זה נראה מים. פשוט לוקחים אותם, הם שותים אותם, והם הופכים להיות חולים. באפריקה אין להרבה אנשים לקנות בגדים ונעליים. הם מוצאים בגד ולובשים אותו, אפילו הם קרוע. הדאגות שלנו בישראל הן ממש 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 שונות מהדאגות באפריקה. זה היום הראשון שלי פה, באוגנדה, באפריקה. באתי לאפריקה שגיליתי שאימא שלי בגיל 20 התחילה לעבוד פה. היא מביאה מים, היא מביאה כל מיני דברים מאפריקה, חשמל. אולי גם אני שאני אהיה גדולה, אני אוכל להביא. לבית יתומים. בית יתומים הם ילדים שאין להם משפחות. אנחנו נביא מים, נביא גם אוכל, ואני מאוד מתרגשת לראות את כל האנשים שמחים אחרי שנביא להם את הבגדים ואת המים ואת האוכל בבית יתומים. כשהייתי בבית יתומים עזרתי לאישה שמזגה להם אוכל. לאוכל קראו שם הדייסה. שמה ביום מנה אחת של אוכל. אין להם אוכל לפחות 15 שעות. זה הרבה בלי לאכול. אבל עכשיו בזכות השמש אפשר לשאוב מים מהאדמה ולגדל אוכל. הבאנו להם טפטפות מישראל ושמנו להם שועית ושמנו מים מהטפטפות והם כבר לא היו רעבים יותר. הדבר שהכי ריגש אותי שהלכנו לבית יתומים, ראינו אותם שמחים ורוקדים, הבאנו להם מים ואני פתחתי את הברז שהם ראו מים נקיים בפעם הראשונה. הם פחדו כל כך לבוא למים, אז אמרתי להם בואו שישטפו ידיים. לא יצטרכו ללכת יותר ברגל ולצחוק, ופשוט ללכת ולהביא מים נקיים מהברזים. עכשיו שחזרתי מאפריקה אני יותר מעריכה את החיים שלי בישראל. בגלל שבאמת יש לנו חיים טובים, יש לנו את הכל פה.
So, Innovation Africa aside, you didn't hurt her. She's doing amazingly well. She's got her mommy's genes. I'll just say it. So thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I'm hoping that Sivan will stay around at least for a few minutes because I'm sure there are questions about how to get in touch with Innovation Africa and how to get in touch with Sivan on this amazing work that she's done. And please help me thank her for her incredible work.